Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to Career Lab Wednesday. We are getting started here. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, George Miller. I am here every Wednesday, and I'm usually on, thank you, Jane. I'm usually here at noon Central Time, but today I am going live at 11 Central Time. I am taking a transcendental meditation course, so I had to adjust my schedule a little bit. Anyway, before I jump into the topic today, I want to share with everybody who's joining in a couple ways to interact. So I love it when you jump in directly on Zoom and I can work with you one-to-one that way. But I understand that this is streaming to LinkedIn Live and YouTube. So if you're not comfortable doing that, I totally get it. You can always type your questions into the comment section, and I will do my best to answer your questions and coach via that communication. So I'll be getting into the topic today about interviewing, but I want to make sure that everybody who's viewing in, that you know that you are absolutely welcome to ask any question career related. It doesn't have to be about interviewing. You could ask about your resume. You could ask about LinkedIn stuff. You could ask about relationship with your boss. You could ask all kinds of questions, anything that's on your heart about your career. Feel free to jump in and ask. Again, you can join in on Zoom. If you don't know what that link is, just type into the comment section, hey, what's the link? And if you aren't joining in on Zoom, but you want to ask a question anyway, that's fine. Type it into the comment section. I will do my best to answer your question via the comments. And it's worked out quite well, where people are able to put in, yes, that was helpful. Yes, no, it's more like this. And I'm able to work with you that way and keep it anonymous. So today, I wanted to talk about interviewing. I've had a few clients recently reach out about interviewing, and there is an approach that works really, really, really well. When I think about going into an interview, I'm immediately feeling anxious. I feel afraid about that. And I imagine many of you would too, because there's this thing that you want. You want the job. You're wondering if you're the right fit for the job. You have concerns about if it really is, if it's not. Are they going to understand the expertise that you bring? Are you going to be able to communicate that effectively? These are all valid concerns. It makes sense to have anxiety about this stuff. So we don't want to get rid of that. We don't want to pretend like that doesn't exist. We just want to broaden the horizon of the game that is being played while interviewing. So the approach that works is for you to interview the interviewer, is for you to go in thinking about yourself as the buyer. So think about it like if you're shopping for a car. There's a lot of cars out there. So there's a lot of jobs out there. Now, is this the one that you really want? And I've talked with people before who are just so sure that there's this one job they want, that it's the perfect fit. And that's in reality, I don't know that there's any such thing as a perfect fit for marriage, relationships, and for jobs. And so I think that that can be a distraction. And it ends up being much more useful to consider that maybe there's things you don't know about this job that would make it not the best fit. And if you allow that as a possibility, you're actually going to interview better because you start to have some of the confidence on your side, some of the ball in your court. Instead of it all being dependent on how well you perform, you're now able to look at what are the things in this company that maybe that you're not sure about. And when you look at it that way, it allows you to start asking intelligent questions about the role that you're looking at. It allows you to look at the company more objectively. So that's the biggest thing, biggest mindset shift. And this is so hard. Look, if I was going to go interview right now, so I have my coaching business. I like my coaching business. I but if I were to I look at things that LinkedIn sends me, because there might be a coaching opportunity with an organization that would look like sounds like a lot of fun. So now if I think about that, or even right there now, already I'm starting to think about how I'm going to prove myself to this, at this point, non-existent company that there's not even a company right now that I want to work with. But I can just watch how quickly I move to, oh yeah, I want to show them how good I am. I want to make sure that they understand. Happens really fast. Not for everybody. There are personality types. There are people that I talk to that don't have this desire to perform for others in the way that I do. But most people I talk to, I mean, like 95% of people have their own version of this where they want to look smart, they want to sound good. And it's some version of, I want to show you. And there's nothing wrong with this. You need it. You need to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm really good at. But if that's all you're going into the interviews with and you're not thinking critically about the company, you're not going to do as well in the interview. So I'll continue this thought experiment. So let's say that there's a company. Let's say that a recruiter reaches out to me. It's like, hey, you know what? There's this thing, and I think it would be a really good fit for you. So right there, I'm already like, ooh, somebody likes me. Now, but because I have my business that I like, and I don't necessarily want to change things up, I like doing things the way I want to do them. That gives me a lot of leverage, because now I can go into the interview and I'm thinking, is this something that I really want to do? Do I want to trade my time for, it's not just the money, but for the experience with this place? Huh. Is this place going to have me developing relationships with people that I really want to develop relationships with? Is this going to have me learning skills that I really want to learn? At this point in my life, there's more skills I want to learn, but it has a lot more to do for me with, who am I meeting? Who am I getting to work with? What's the kind of impact that I'm able to make? How much of a difference am I able to make in this organization? I might take a job with a company for maybe a contract for 6 months, to think, oh man, I bet I could really help that this team change the way that they're interacting with each other and be way more effective. God, that sounds like fun. But now, as I'm thinking about that, now I'm going to be asking questions about the team. I'm going to be asking, okay, so what's the current scenario like here? What are you really looking to have happen here? How much one-on-one time am I going to get? Now, as a coach, that's going to be huge for me, because I want to know that I'm able to work with an individual's priorities, what matters to them. Because I know that that's what actually works instead of trying to tell people what to do. So I'm going to ask that kind of question to the leadership. Let's say I'm talking to a business owner. I'll say, okay, how I want to know that I'm able to talk with your employees in a way that they know that I'm not reporting what you're saying, what they're saying back to you. That's a do or die for me. And then see that right there. Now we're having a deeper conversation if I'm talking to a business owner who might hire me to work with their team. Or it could be like, well, how about we have times where we're meeting together. So it's the three of us. Okay. I might be comfortable with that. And again, I'm looking at what's the difference that I can make. Is this going to be a spot where I can really learn and grow? That this is going to be something that I benefit from, and that's what matters to me. There's a deeper objective. And now I'm way more attractive to people who are wanting somebody. Okay? So get how that plays out. So if you're going into an interview and you just want the job, want the job, want the job, well, again, you're not coming from a place where you're going to seem to have as much confidence. And even if you practice and practice all of the questions, answering all the questions the correct way, which I recommend you do. I think you should do that. I think you should prepare. You should prepare a great amount for your interviews. But this mindset shift is incredibly important. Will help you be more objective and help you be more attractive in the interview. So you're going to want to have your list of questions. You're going to want to have your list of concerns. And in some of the interviews, especially first, second round interviews, you may not get to any of those questions. They might just be feeling you out to pass you on and see if you make the cut. So I've talked a lot about this mindset shift. We're coming up on 15 minutes past the hour. I want to say to everybody that if you're just joining in, you can ask questions in the comment section. So if you're on YouTube or if you're on LinkedIn Live, go ahead and type any questions into the comment section. I invite any questions career related. They don't have to do with this topic. You're welcome to ask about your relationship with your boss, anything. And if you want, you can jump in directly here on Zoom and I can work with you one-to-one. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. Okay, I'm seeing, okay, I'm getting a question coming in here. Thank you. I just want to find out, during my interview, I have the tendency to be nervous, freeze, or ramble on while answering questions. Okay, this is great. So the sense of nervousness, that's if we boil it right down to a core emotion, that is fear. So that is a fear response. If I'm freezing, somebody asks me a question and I don't know how to answer and I'm freezing. Right there, okay, that is that fear response. And instead of criticizing yourself for that fear response, you want to get better at functioning while feeling afraid. So there's nothing wrong with the fear response, with feeling that anxiety, feeling that nervousness. Of course you're nervous. If you think about it, like, you can always take it to an extreme. Like, we are walking around on this ball of earth that's hurtling through the sky, and at some point the sun's going to eat this entire solar system. Like, whoa, so there's all, like, the nervousness, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can increase your ability to be with the fear, then you can use the fear. You can use the anxiety. You can use the nervousness. So if you're able to type in, maybe you let me know what a question is where you would freeze. I'm going to throw one out here because I know a lot of people don't like the question, tell me about yourself. So somebody asks you in an interview, tell me about yourself. And right there, you're uh, like, what do they really want to know? Uh, and so there's a flood of thoughts and a flood of feelings. So if they ask you that, what you want to be able to do is use that fear to help you answer that question in relationship to that person. And if you don't know that person yet, because it's just a job, then you're answering that question in relationship to the position. You're answering that question in that context. So your fear is actually giving you valuable information. So let's say that you are in IT or IT security. You might say, when somebody says, tell me about yourself, well, I've always had an interest in computers. I've grown up with them. I'm very good at working with computers. And let's say that you don't even have, let's say that your degree is recent. Let's say you're making a career transition, which you would tell some personal stuff about yourself that way. Like I was, in whatever tech club in high school. And then I got into this line of work, doing whatever sales or manufacturing or whatever it is. And then you're saying, and as time's gone on, I've thought about, I should really develop this. I'm good with technology and I see that there's a need for it. So I got a degree, I brushed up my skills, and I saw this position and I wanted to find out more about it. Wow. Right there. So do you see how you're using that anxiety to talk about yourself in a way that is having them know you more? Having them, so now it's becoming a conversation with them. And you're the one who's having it become a conversation. You're helping it become a conversation. Okay, great. I'm seeing some more come in. Why? Oh, why should we hire you over other candidates? Okay, great. So, oh, so where you might freeze with that one. So, you're going to tailor this response because you want to be, again, paying attention to who you are as a person. Now, if you're somebody who's incredibly smart and you are the best of your class and all that kind of thing, then you would say that. You would say, well, why would we hire you over other candidates? Well, because I'm the best at this, 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 and this. And in all the scenarios when a challenge is given to me, I learn it and I'm very good at it. I'm very good at whatever skill it is that I need to acquire. Right there. Somebody tells me that, I'm like, okay, great. Maybe I would ask some more questions about it. So that's one personality type. Oh, but by the way, we should throw the personality assessment in here because I'm kind of speaking to different personalities, and this is something that you can take on your own. You can fill out this assessment and watch a little video on it that will give you a little education about personality style. So about yourself, and then it'll help you understand others. So that might be one way to answer that. Why should we hire you over others? If that is not quite your style, and you feel when somebody asks you that question and maybe you feel a little afraid or maybe even a touch irritated or like, "Ugh, why are you asking me that?" Then you might you might respond a little differently. Again, because you're using your emotions. So you might say, um, I I'm a great hire because I understand the way that teams work. I'm very good at working with people. And, ultimately you're going to be the one who decides who the best hire is. But I wonder if other people that you're hiring have the sort of emotional awareness and the awareness of other people that I do. So I'm very good at learning and growing. And I'm also good at bringing people together. And so you might say that, especially if you have a hunch that that might be a challenge in their culture, if that's something that they're wanting help with. So you'll tailor it. And they might, especially if they're using that question to see how you respond, the best thing you're going to be able to do is to respond quickly and perhaps ask them a question at the end of the response. So let me know, in terms of what I've said so far about how to respond to that question. Let me know if any of that is helpful, or if there's a little, if another thought came up of like, oh wait, yeah, but that's a challenge because of da da da. So just type into the comments and let me know. Um, I see that you asked another question, so I'll get to that one too. But I like to really dig in on what on each question so that everybody listening in can learn from it. So that's part of the beauty of this, is as you're all listening in, any question that you ask serves everybody else. Because I guarantee you that other people have the same question. And that's what you're also doing if you're listening in, is you're applying, let's say you're not interviewing, but you have a question about talking with your boss or talking to your team. I want you to be applying what I'm saying to any scenario that you're in, because this is all about relationship. So that question, why should we hire you over other candidates? So you're going to want to know what you can say about yourself. I have this experience, and I'm very good with people. Or I'm very good at getting results. Or I'm really good at looking at what's possible and helping people realize that, helping people and teams get things done that they didn't know they could do. So you do need to know yourself. You do need to know what your gifts are beyond just the skills. Why should we hire you? Well, because I'm very good at assessing a lot of data and checking with all the right people that I need to check with to make sure that no mistakes are made on this kind of a thing. While at the same time, I'm able to make mistakes in a way that helps me learn and grow. But when it's really critical, I'm very good at making sure we have all the data that we need. So whichever one of those that I just kind of named sounds most like you, lean in that direction of how you answer it. And then once you answer it, then you can say something like, and as I understand it, this position requires this, and this. And I think that I'd be very good at that. So you're using that question to clarify things for you. Again, you're using your fear, you're using your nervousness, your anxiety. Because they asked you why you would be a better candidate. And now you're saying, well, I do this, 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 and this really well. And I'm kind of assuming the other candidates don't bring what I'm bringing to the table for this role. See how you're starting to now take that anxiety and say, my understanding is this role is this, 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 and this. And so that's why I think I'd be a great fit. Am I on? Now you can check it out with them. See how you just put the ball in their court now. Is that accurate? Are we on the same page here? Because they're like, oh, yeah, this person just answered that question. They seem to have an understanding of the needs of this role. And now they're asking me about if their assumptions and their research is correct. And then I might say, oh, you know what? Actually, no, it's more like this. What you just said about needing to have all the correct data. Like, no, it actually what the role is really going to need is more management. Okay, good. Good to hear that this is helpful. Okay. And then that has you saying, oh, okay. So it's actually more of a role. Well, you know, my background in data analysis, I can see how that would help here. If you want me to be training other people in that and having other people have a greater understanding, then I from the way the role was listed, I didn't see it that way, but I could see that. And now you're there negotiating about how you're going to fit in. And you might get to the point too where you're like, oh, you know what? I thought that this was a different kind of role. And as we're having this interview, it's not something I'm as interested in. So I just would want to let you know that up front. I've had clients do that and really good things come from it usually. Like one client said very quickly, I think he said in the first 5 minutes of an interview, he was like, you know what? I apologize. I thought that I was interviewing for something more like this. You know, as I looked into the company, this is what I thought the needs were and how I would be serving those needs. It sounds like you're looking for somebody a little more like this other thing. And while I could do that, it's not really what I'm wanting to do right now. So I wanted to tell you that, you know, not waste your time. And when they did that, the person they were interviewing was like, sighed and was like, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And then they started having a real conversation. And then she was like, you know, it's interesting you say that this is not what you're really looking for. I'm kind of finding that with people that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of great candidates for this role. I'm glad you just said it up front. Do you know of anybody who might be in this kind of like looking for something like this? And so they talked about that, and she was like, you know, how do you recommend I go about finding somebody like this and da 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 da. So right there, you know, now it's just a conversation, and my client was helping them, you know, was being of service to them. And then she ended up telling them, you know, there's somebody I have in mind for you. So let me make an introduction. That's really what you want to be going for. So glad this is helpful. Um, I want to move on to your next question. So, okay, got it. Oh, wonderful. So introverts of the world unite. So for all you introverts listening in, when somebody is asking you questions in an interview, they are wanting to see how you're going to there's two things is does this person get stuff done, and is this person somebody I'd like to work around, somebody I'd like to have here? So it has nothing to do with whether you're an introvert or not. They're looking for, does this person get things done, and is this person like, basically, I don't want to bring somebody in here who everybody hates. So and you know, I don't not like I know for sure, but to my knowledge, introverts and extroverts, it has nothing to do with either of those things. So what you can say then, let's say they ask you the question of a time when you demonstrated leadership. I could see how for some introverts, you might think that you're not a leader. But if you get asked that question, how you demonstrated leadership, we're going to go to another mindset shift here. Is we are all leaders. Every single person is leading. To be alive means that you are leading. Like, I don't know, I'm going to totally butcher this, but oh, I'm so sorry. Kierkegaard. It's the YouTube channel where they make the cool little cartoon videos and they talk about really complex stuff in like 10 minutes. Fantastic thing. I'm embarrassed that I don't know how to say it. Anyway, they talk a lot about, they have the whole series on ants. And when you look at ants through the lens that they're showing you ants, you start to realize like, oh my gosh, the way that ants function and stuff, like every single one has a purpose. Every individual ant is up to something. And then it makes it very easy to see the correlation to like, oh my gosh, like literally everything I do, from the way that I drive a car, or the way that I interact at work, or the way that I order stuff from Amazon or shop at the local grocery, local. Anyway, you got my tongue tied there. The way that I do stuff impacts the whole. Just by being alive and breathing, I am impacting the thoughts, feelings, and actions of others, whether I want to or not. So for all you introverts, when you're asked questions about leadership, that's the mindset change, is that you are a leader. So now you have an onboard. So instead of you telling yourself, oh, I'm not a leader, how do I answer this question? Now you get to move into, no, what are the ways that I am? What are the ways that I do this? So if they say, how did you demonstrate leadership? Well, I was given a project of acquiring all this data for this thing. And so I did that, and I interacted with this department and that department. And I helped us all get on the same page about this. And we were able to confirm that the data was correct. And then I, was able to communicate that with somebody who had no knowledge of, all of the details involved in this, but I was able to bullet point it in a way that they could digest it and apply it to where they needed to. Boom. There you go. So I hope that's helpful. That's a great question, by the way. So for an introvert, what do you do with the question? Tell me of a time you demonstrated leadership. It's so important. So I'm with you on this one. I didn't think of myself this way at all. It was 12 years ago when someone pointed out to me in a way that I heard, and it landed for me. It was my coach, said, George, do you have any idea how warmly people feel towards you? And I was like, that lands. I can see examples of that as you say that. Yeah, I guess people do. Huh. I guess people feel warmly towards me. And then my coach asked a question that was something like, and do you understand like how significant that is when you are working on teams? And I was like, I guess I never thought about it. And then as I started to look back over earlier things I did in my career, I used to co-run a moving company. And it never occurred to me how much of a gift I was showing up into people's, at moving times is a big time of transition. So everybody's always freaked out most of the time. 90% of the time, people are like in kind of like a traumatic state. Like it's like a picture a cat, you just lifted up their couch and now they're all disturbed. Like that's kind of how people are when they're moving. And so the fact that I would be on the phone with them and then I would be able to tell, oh, it's this kind of person. I need to send this kind of crew. I need to make sure this person's there. And then be like, oh, I got to go on this one to make sure that this works out well. And then just by me showing up and liking people, asking questions, it made so many moves go smoother. And I had never thought of that as a leadership quality, but it totally is. Totally is. Like I helped things happen and make things go way smoother just by the way that I interacted with people, just by knowing what kinds of people to send where. It was a total feeling. I didn't even know I was doing it. I had no idea. So we're all like that. Now, if you ask me about, so I'm talking about data analysis and stuff like that. That is not one of my strong suits. I have developed that skill. It's not an innate gift of mine. And so you might have an ability to crunch numbers and you just do it and you don't even know that it's that much of a gift. And you might not even be aware that there's a lot of people like myself that aren't able to pound out numbers like that, that do not do arithmetic super quickly. Like I'm kind of like counting on my hands with, even though I'm not doing it with my hands because I don't want you to see. So that's a way to start looking at yourself. If you consider yourself an introvert, doesn't matter. So what? You are still leading people. You are still getting things done. And there are people who like being around you. So right there, you are going to be able to answer that question of, tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership. It's just a matter of how you did what, and then you get into whatever the role is that you're applying for, and your answer is going to be tailored to that role and demonstrating, well, I was able to bring a team together in this kind of a way and helped get these items completed that we needed completed. And I'm imagining that for the role that I'm looking at here, that you're going to need these different teams to be able to bring this stuff together and get this kind of thing done. Right there, you demonstrated, you shared how you demonstrated leadership in the past, and you asked a question, again, because we're back onto the first part of today, which was interviewing the interviewer. Now you're asking a question that's making sure that you're understanding the role, that you're on the same page with them. Boom. All right, so good to hear that's helpful. I'm coming up on, wow, today's going fast. Coming up on the end of this hour. Again, I'm usually here from noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. I have a training going on that I need to get to in a little bit, so I changed it this week. If you have questions, feel free to enter them into the comment section. I'm going to start wrapping up. I'm hoping that this was helpful to you today as we do a deep dive into interviewing. And you can think about interviews that you're doing trying to get a job, or what you're doing internally, or if you have an agenda in your organization to grow, then in some ways, every conversation, every meeting is a bit of an interview. Again, you're using your anxiety to help highlight what you want to address instead of trying to not feel the anxiety. You're simply using your feelings to help you get clarity and help you connect deeper with other people. Okay, so you saw that I dropped in a link there, Connect and Thrive. Go ahead and check that out. There's a video there and an assessment where you'll see what personality style you are. It's helpful to look at that because it gives us a little bit of a framework and to run a lot of bigger ideas through. So take a look at that. And also, if you are viewing in and you've got questions, but you didn't want to comment or share, feel free to set up a time to talk with me. I'm happy to meet with you. And I find that oftentimes in a 15, 20-minute call, I'm able to help people know that they're on the track that they want to be on. It can be affirming for them. And that might be all that you want. And then sometimes we'll talk and see, you know what, this is more of a project. Okay, you've got a bigger goal, and here's what I think we're going to need to do. And we can then discuss coaching. We can see if a coaching relationship is something that would be a good fit for you. And I know it's midsummer right now, but I do ice water coaching. And it's kind of a funny, it might sound funny up front, but ice water coaching, what this is all about for me is helping people befriend their fear, to access the aliveness in their life by being with fear instead of trying to avoid it, instead of trying to talk around it. And so I work with clients, I take them into ice water as a physical way to work through this, as a physical way of really embracing your emotions and allowing whatever is to be. And then we can take that into your relationships at work and at home. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. That's something that I do. Yes. Yeah. I am offering an in-person session where we do that. So take a look at that if that's something that interests you. Okay, everybody, I'm going to get going. I have a little bit of preparation to do before leaving, but appreciate everybody. So sorry again that I shift the time on you. I know most of you are used to it being at noon Central Time. That is usually when it is. This week, I needed to shift it. So thank you for accommodating. And if you have any questions, type them into the comments now, or save them for next week, or set up a time with me, a 15-minute call where we can talk. I can learn a little bit more about you and your goals and sort some things out with you. All right, everybody. Well, blessings. Take care. Use your interviewing skills. Use who you are. Remember that you are a gift, and knowing that and finding the ways that you're a gift, having other people tell you the ways that you are, having other people help you see your skills, because you might be unaware of them. That's an incredibly valuable thing to do. So you know how you bring value to the company. It helps you have a more meaningful conversation when you're interviewing. Blessings, everybody.